What a creepy way to put that. When I think about it, we saw what you people are like in middle of high school. We thought we could harness that uncomfortableness into a power source. Hey everybody, welcome back to another Stoneface Reactions. I'm Theta, and we are back in another episode of Madoka Magica. I've been proven right. There's not a lot of takeaway that I'm going to take from last episode other than I was right about everything. Like, sure, you'd think I would harp on about how I was right about the time loop thing. Well, maybe I was partially right about the time loop thing. I have notes about that, obviously, but I think I'm also pretty right about the life cycle of magical girls, witches, humans, that sort of thing. Obviously, I was clearly right about Kyuubi being a villain. I was right about most stuff. Like, unfortunately, I'm in that mode of mind right now that if I was wrong about something, I do not remember what I was wrong about. And I think, like, the only counter-argument against me is that I threw a lot of shit at the wall. So, of course, I must have been right about something. I basically said everything. Anyway, we do have a board. We always have a board. Well, not always. We have a board this time. And with the board comes the board changelog. I added all of Ikemi's lines to white, except to Kyuubi and Madoka, because obviously she is obsessed with Madoka, and Kyuubi has always been her enemy, so I just didn't change that from red to white. I added a purple arrow from Ikemi to Madoka, as per, and a white line between Ikemi and Kyoko. I mean, obviously it seemed like they were trying to work together at the beginning of the episode, but then at the end, where she tries to essentially eliminate Sayaka, it very much feels like that bridge has been burned a little bit. Obviously, I've got stuff to say about this new little addition over here, which is itself just an extension of this previous idea that I was throwing out there. But I think I have a note specifically about it, so I'm going to hold off on explaining that. And hopefully, future me remembers to bring the board back when I go back to explaining this. So the notes. So I guess since it seems like there is a record of the names of these witches we've eliminated so far, as per the names that y'all have been giving me, that now pushes the idea that these were people that likely lived in this area, as it seems unusual for magical girls to travel. Or at least it's been presented that way. Thinking back to previous episodes, I can't recall any instances where a person was regarded as missing or such by any of the characters we've heard speak, seemingly making these magical girls turned witches completely unrelated to the events of the lives of the girls in this particular story. Now, if there's been like previous episodes where there has been like hints or like missing persons posters or seats in the classroom that have been empty, that would be a reviewing sort of thing. Because unfortunately, I think people have agreed that the way that I do this is pretty good. Where I rewatch a second time. But rewatching the episode a second time in the order that I'm rewatching it only gives me the details that are prescient in that episode. If I don't then remember future details, looking back on it, then that second rewatching really doesn't help me. That's more of an element of a, hey, we finished the show, now I'm going to go back and rewatch it all myself and then come back to you with notes, and that would be like a huge time sink. And unfortunately, with all the shows that we watch here on the channel, I can't invest in that sort of thing. I guess having finished, not right now, but when I finish the show, if there are details that you think I've missed or never brought up, I guess at the very end, that'd be fine, because it wouldn't be spoilers anymore. Like, if I missed it at all, right, for the whole perspective, then I really did miss it. So, at the very end, maybe. But also from the perspective that I'm planning to possibly watch more stuff from this universe after the show. Be light on the spoilers if that would affect anything else. What do I got here? Magia Record, I think, is something I'm planning to watch after, and I think there's 3 seasons of that, plus the OVA movie things. So, just keep that in mind. For a while, when initially taking my notes, I was still a bit confused as to one aspect of things. It wasn't until I revisited my life cycle diagram and started fixing it for the new information that it struck me. I was initially confused as to what familiars were. If magical girls become witches, that's when I remembered Kyokyo's statement. Familiars eat humans. After 4 to 5, they become a witch. Sayaka isn't a witch because she killed 2 guys. Sayaka is a familiar on her way to becoming a witch. I have to assume there is some sort of visual filter that Kyobi is putting in front of them to prevent them from seeing actual reality. I mean, that or I'm just completely wrong. The fact is that the familiars we've seen have been cartoonish monsters and not people. So if Sayaka were to be considered a familiar at that moment, at the moment, then I'd imagine a magical girl that didn't know her might see her differently. Again, unless I'm wrong and familiars are just their own thing, that hasn't been explained yet. Now, I wrote this clearly in the midpoint of the episode because Sayaka, cries onto her soul gem, and the soul gem breaks open and very clearly, I think, becomes a grief seed. And then her whole body goes weird. So, assuming that it's not like some sort of visual filter, but is actually some sort of physical change. Now, actually thinking about this, sorry, I'm spitballing here off the top of my head. It didn't actually turn into a grief seed, it just exploded outwards, and the symbol remained in darkness. So maybe she actually just turned into a familiar now. Like, killing the 2 guys was just completely incidental. She's she's turned into a familiar now, and then the act of killing more people is what's going to turn that grief seed outline into an actual grief seed. Spitballing again, just trying to work through what I'm remembering happening as I correct this. And actually, that was my note about the life cycle. So I'm just gonna go back over here to the board real quick. And obviously, this is my initial what's the life cycle thing, and this is the new one. Humans encounter Kyobi, become magical girls. Magical girls become familiars. I didn't have an icon to represent despair or depression or whatever sets you on the path. Familiar becomes a grief seed. I don't know what the terminology to use here would be. A familiar gains a grief seed, develops a grief seed, becomes a witch, and witches kill humans. And the act of killing humans causes those humans to want to become magical girls. Ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. So yeah, that is the new life cycle that I've developed. I know that Sayaka regrets what she says soon after saying it, but at the same time, those are words that you can't take back. And I don't mean the sort of emotional knife twist words, but the pressure that she puts on Madoka to become what she's become. In the same breath, she's talking about how she's become a corpse, is suffering, and tells attempts to guilt trip Madoka into doing the same. I don't fully blame Sayaka, as she's been manipulated into this by Kyobi from episode 2 onwards. But she still has her own agency as well. She chooses the words she says, and it's making her an agent for the show's villain. Granted, then she goes off to do her own thing. I write these in the order that I'm watching. This isn't I took my notes after the episode was over. This is I'm jotting down notes as I'm watching. Alright. Stuff in Akemi's background, by which I mean the background of her extra dimensional room thing that we see her in. There's an image with the German word for unknown beneath it. Walpurgisnacht, also with the German word for night, Nacht. What seems like pictures of magical girl silhouettes listed as 1 of 25 pages. The same diagram coming up 5 times that looks like it's displaying parts of a magical girl. A picture of what looks like a soul gem or grief seed with what looks like the words Ein Nart under it, which, just translates to, what was it, a Nart or the Nart? Doesn't help. A page that goes by most scenes illegible, but I caught one to be able to translate it. You must understand, make 1 into 10 and let 2 go. Make 3 at once and you'll be rich. Lose the beast. Make 5 into 6, so the witch says. Make 7 into 8 and it's done. And 9 is 1 and 10 is none. That's the witch's multiplication table. Which I recognize is a song via Googling, but no sense of context yet. Like, actually, make 1 into 10 and let 2 go. Sorry, I'm just trying to think about the number of magical girls. Ah, damn it. Here's the problem. I'm assuming I could do something with this if I was paying attention to how many witches we've killed so far. And I feel like that'd be predicated on me remembering all of the witches that has been told to me. And unfortunately, I could just go back into my notes and look that up right now, but I'm on live stream, and I don't think that's the moment appropriate for research. Okay, depending on what happens in this episode, I'm going to come back and hopefully maybe try to make sense of that by virtue of how many witches have been killed so far. And if that number equals 10, well, no, not 10, if that number plus the number of magical girls we've had in the show so far, I guess minus Akemi, because she shouldn't be in this math, if that equals 10, then we've got something here. 1914 underscore Butcher, which could refer to a number of things. In the line 1914 to 1918 by George Boucher, a first-hand account of a German soldier on the front lines in World War I. Also could be about Ewald Boucher, also German, born in 1914. A very blurry image behind Kyoko seems to indicate an image of something burning, whose bottom looks like the bottom edge of a grief seed, labeled 1832 Switzerland, I think. Of note, Kyoko has heard of the Walpurgis. She just hasn't heard of it coming to this city before. I thought that was important. Actually, now I'm just thinking about it. Maybe she's only heard of it. Well, no, I was gonna say maybe she only heard of it because Kemi brought it up at the Dance Dance Revolution machine. But she's indicating that she's heard of it, just not coming to the city before, which would imply that she heard of it before Akemi brought it up too. And I don't recall her showing any surprise when Akemi brought it up the first time either. So yeah, no, she knows about this. Hyobi essentially tells Kyoko and Akemi to deal with Sayaka before Walpurgisnacht comes, confirming that it is coming, while Akemi was still trying to convince Kyoko that it was. Just establishing ahead of time that Hyobi knows what's going to happen, even though Akemi is technically from the future, and is warning people about what's going to come. So it's that element of when you're in like a murder mystery or any general mystery, in fact, where a character tells you information that they shouldn't know and that you didn't tell them. Like, I didn't tell you the victim was a woman. That sort of thing. That Kyobi is entering the scene and warning them that they have to deal with Sayaka before this other thing that has never been told to them before. I'm assuming that Akemi tossed Sayaka the grief seed from the witch that Mami died trying to defeat, meaning that when she kicked it away, it was more of a visual interpretation of her separating herself from everything that used to be important to her. I think that's the only grief seed that we've seen Akemi get in the entire show. So assuming she's not grabbing grief seeds off screen, that would be the one that she's gotten. Also, I guess an implication there being that she's not replenishing herself either. She is, if that's the only grief seed that she's ever had, then the entirety of the show, we've never seen her replenish. But then again, I guess she could just be not using her powers that much. Literally, I think, what, 3 times? 4 times, maybe? And never to the level that Sayaka has done. However, she did just have a breakdown as well. And all it took was Sayaka having a breakdown to, I don't know. I don't know. I do not suspect that of Akemi. I know she just had a breakdown and Madoka ran from her, which could set her off too. I don't expect that to happen. I think Akemi's power is essentially tracers from Overwatch, that she rewinds to a previous moment. That's how she gets attacked and then appears elsewhere. Considering that, the fact that she was already a magical girl at the start of episode 1, then it's unlikely that Madoka made a wish to cause this. That would mean that Akemi is constantly getting to the point where Madoka is about to make a wish and rewinds to try and stop it, making this less of a Groundhog's Day and more of a next. And spoiler alert here, I guess, if you're not familiar with the movie Next, it's where he can see 5 seconds into the future or something like that, and constantly is like mitigating his life's choices. Maybe it was like a minute. Maybe it was a minute into the future. I can't remember. He's constantly mitigating his life's choices to make the right decision. And he like gives a hint at the very beginning of the movie that he can see a minute into the future, but then also a minute past that based on the events that he just did in that one other minute, and then a minute, and then a minute. So it turns out that the entire movie is him seeing a collective, like, I don't know, days into the future, a week into the future, based on 1 minute at a time. So that literally the movie goes right back to the bar, or no, the diner at the very beginning of the movie, because that was just a possible future that he could have gone through where he didn't like the ending. This is the same thing. She's essentially rewinding back all the way from the end of the show over and over again. I'm assuming, right? It's my time travel theory final, I guess. We're close to the end. I don't suspect I'm going to come up with a new version of this theory unless she proves that her powers don't work that way. I don't know. Last note. Shot in the dark. One of those things, I guess, that doesn't have to be true. What if Madoka is the Walpurgis? Now, this doesn't stand up to what I just said earlier about reflecting back on episode 1, where we see the Walpurgis attacking Akemi, and Madoka is in the background. Assumedly about to make a wish, and which is why Akemi rewind everything. But just, I mean, bear with me, just in case. I don't want to not have said this, and then it turned out to be true. What if Madoka is the Walpurgis? That becoming a magical girl and succumbing to despair is what creates the giant city-destroying monster that we saw in the opening of episode 1. Kyobi keeps going on about how she'd be the strongest, like a god and beyond imagining. Well, if that is true, then her witch form would be the same, right? Literally a Sentry and Void situation from Marvel. That would be a good reason to call Kyobi Incubator if he only exists to bring about the birth of that thing. And if you're not familiar with Sentry and Void, spoiler alert again, I haven't seen the new Marvel movie. I think he's supposed to be in it. Sentry and Void are two halves of the same character. Sentry is like the Superman, well, one of Marvel's Superman. I think you can technically consider Thor one. I think there's a guy named Hyperion who's also essentially like Superman. But Sentry's one. But Sentry's alter ego, or actual ego, id, id, super ego, that sort of thing. He basically loses consciousness at certain points and becomes a character called Void, who is basically as strong or more powerful than Sentry, but is his darker half, that sort of thing. But yeah, those are all my notes. I think there's nothing left to do here but to hop on in and see if I could be right about any more stuff.
But before we get started,
make sure that you hit the like button,
hit that subscribe button.
Comment down below to feed that algorithm.
On top of all that, if you want to watch more shows like this, unfiltered,
uncensored,
and uncut,
as well as some early access stuff,
you can check it out over on the Patreon.
It's just $5 a month, but hey, no pressure.
There's zero pressure in order to do that. It's just a little bit of extra support, and it would be greatly appreciated.
Okay, do we think that she's gonna try and kill Sayaka here? Like, we saw Sayaka getting thrown by this explosion. Sorry, I meant Kyokyo. I kept saying Sayaka, I meant Kyokyo. Okay, which form? Okay, not which form. Oh, it is which form. The body doesn't mean anything anymore. Since the gem... Oh, you can rewind? Oh, okay, I thought you were rewinding. You wouldn't want to rewind while holding on Sayaka's body. You wouldn't want to take... Because the body's nothing. It's the gem. The gem became that witch. Okay, left Sayaka's labyrinth. Yeah, no, I mean... Totally understood that. I think I'm on board exactly with everything that's happening. Essentially, the whole thing that we came up with before about, or we didn't come up with it, the show explained it to us, that they don't actually inhabit their bodies, they inhabit the soul gems. And the soul gem, becoming a grief seed, became its own entity. And that's why witches look so weird, or not people. Doesn't really explain the familiars thing. I'm still confused if I'm actually right about the familiar life cycle, because that feels like it would be a perceptional filter, right? The idea that familiars still look like witches in some respect, even though Sayaka's journey seems to imply that a familiar, or sorry, that a magical girl's journey towards becoming a witch leaves them still human looking. But I guess maybe that everyone's journey is the same as Sayaka's. It's entirely possible you could abandon your body and take the form of something else, right? I'm not exactly sure what ties your body to your soul gem, if your soul gem is its own device. Yeah, why is there so much barbed wire? Or her soul gem's not near her body.
彼女のソウルジェムがグリーフシードに変化した後、魔女を産んで消滅したが。
feel like Kyokyo had that expression like she was just learning that herself.
ソウルジェムの最後の秘密。この宝石が濁りきって黒く染まるとき、私たちはグリーフシードになり、魔女として生まれ
Sorry, that gives me theory to what I was talking about before. Has she ever refreshed?
魔法少女になったものの、
Because hers is as bright as fucking possibly could be.
嘘よ。嘘よね。ねえ。そんな、どうして、さやかちゃん、魔女から人を守りたいって、正義の味方に
Guess maybe we can blame those two guys on the train.
魔法少女になったんだよ。
I mean, they're really the ones that pushed her over the edge.
呪いを背負い込んだまでのこと。あの子は誰かを救った分だけ、これからは誰かを
Or
語
I
り
guess you can blame her friend. Her friend gave her enough time to, like, put herself out there, too.
てめえは何様のつもりだ。事情通ですって自慢したいのか。なんでそう得意げに喋ってられるんだ。
Because I've seen it 100 times.
さやかの親友なんだぞ。
今度こそ理解できたわね。あなたが憧れていたものの正体がどういうものか。
Ooh, those are cutting words.
扱いには気をつけて。迂闊な場所に置き去りにすると後々厄介なことになるわ。
てめえそれでも人間か。
もちろん違うわ。あなたもね。
Ouch. Reverse cutting words. Yeah, wouldn't that mean that every witch that we've ever encountered, there should be a dead body somewhere? I mean, unless they dispose of themselves, but I don't think there'd be a present enough mind to do so.
入っていいかい？話があるんだ。生きてたのね。小村ちゃんが言ってたこと。
Yeah, maybe somebody should have warned Madoka about the whole Kyobi is evil thing. Oh, apparently they did. That was enough to warn her.
僕らは何も人類に対して悪意を持っているわけじゃない。すべてはこの宇宙の寿命を伸ばすためなんだ。まどか、君はエントロピー。
Okay, I didn't realize this was going to give a whole Gurren Lagann angle.
簡単に例えると、焚き火で得られる熱エネルギーは火を育てる動力と釣り合わないってことさ。エネルギーは形を変換するごとにロスが生じる。宇宙全体のエネルギーは目減りしていく一方なんだ。だから僕たちは熱力学の法則に縛られないエネルギーを探し求めてきた。そうして見つけたのが魔法少女の魔力だよ。
I thought for a second he was going to go in Incarnations of Immortality system, which was they were just trying to categorize the energy being lost.
知的生命体の感情をエネルギーに変換するテクノロジーを発明した。ところがあいにく、当の僕らが感情というものを持ち合わせていなかった。そこで
Sorry, I'm just now thinking about the Madoka Magica Gurren Lagann crossover, where this is the origin story for God, was the bad guy from Gurren Lagann.
一人の人間が生み出す感情エネルギーはその個体が誕生し成長するまでに要したエネルギーを凌駕する。君たちの魂はエントロピーを覆すエネルギー源たりうるんだよ。とりわけ最も効率がいいのは第二次成長期の少女の希望と絶望の想定員だ。
What a creepy way to put
ソウ
that.
ルジェムになった君たちの魂は燃え尽きてグリーフシードへと変わるその瞬間に膨大なエネルギーを発生させ
I
る。
mean, think about it. We saw what you people are like in middle to high school. We thought we could harness that uncomfortableness into a power source.
あなたたちのために死ねっていうの。この宇宙にどれだけの文明がひしめき合い、一瞬ごとにどれほどのエネルギーを消耗しているのか分
Zero.
かる
I'm
か
going
い？
to say zero.
君たち人
Coexisting.
類だっていずれはこの星を離れて僕たちの仲間入りをするだろう。その時になって枯れ果てた宇宙を引き渡されても困るよね。長い目で見ればこれは君たちにとっても得になる取引の。
Wouldn't have guessed that Kyobi is going to present himself as an alien.
そんなわけのわからない理由でマミさんが死んでさやかちゃんがあんな目にあってあんまりだよ。ひどすぎるよ。僕 たちはあくまで君たちの合意を前提に契約しているんだよ。それだけでも十分に良心的
I don't know. I guess you could make the argument it's not informed consent.
騙すという行為自体、僕たちには理解できない。認識の相違から生じた判断ミスを後悔するとき、なぜか人間は他者を憎悪するんだよね。
I feel like this is still lying, Kyobi. Because Kyobi also establishes the rule that he can't influence you and then tries to influence you.
僕らは理解に苦しむな。今現在で69億人、しかも4秒に10人ずつ増え続けている君たちがどうして単一個体の
When was this show made?
大騒ぎするんだ。
We're like at least 2 billion more than that.
やっぱりあなた、私たちの敵なんだね。
これでも弁解に来たつもりだったんだよ。君たちの犠牲がどれだけ素晴らしいものをもたらすか理解してもらいたかったんだ。
Not great to hear the near omnipotent creature telling you how great your sacrifices are.
いつか君は最高の魔法少女になり、そして最悪の魔女になるだろう。
I did hear the word Maho Shoujo.
かつてないほど大量のエネルギーを手に入れるはずだ。この宇宙のために死んでくれる気になったらいつでも声をかけて。待ってるからね。
Wow. What a fucking way to put that. If you ever feel like dying for the sake of the universe. そうまでして死体の鮮度を保って一体どうするつもりだい？
こいつのソウルジェムを取り戻す方法は？
僕の
Like, did she eat to like fill an emptiness within her?
そいつは
I didn't feel like there's any other real reason for it.
って意味か？
魔法少女は条理を覆す存在だ。君たちがどれほどの不条理を成し遂げたとしても驚くには値しない。
できるんだな。
前例はないね。だから僕にも方法はわからない。あいにくだが助言のしようがないよ。
Again, Kyobi is not a neutral party.
誰がてめえの手助けなんか借りるもんか。
You win.
まどかさん、今朝は顔色が優れませんわ。大丈夫ですの？
ちょっと寝不足でね。
Feel that.
それにしても、今日もさやかさんはお休みかしら。後でお見舞いに行くべきでしょうか。でも私が言っていい
You
のか。
legit told her I'm gonna steal your love interest, and you're wondering why she's not showing up anymore.
ちゃん、あのね。
昨日の今日でのんきに学校なんて行ってる場合かよ。
Still confused about this, by the way.
ちょっと話があるんだ。顔貸してくれる？
Because again, it used to be that Kyobi had to inspire this, but now Kyoko just does it on her own.
今日は私も学校をお休みするね。
そんな、まどかさん、ちょっと。
I feel less bad for Hitomi, because again, she put herself out there, separating herself from the pack, as it were.
話って。
ミキさやか、助けたいと思わない？
助けられる。
助けられないとしたら放っとくか。妙な聞き方しちゃったね。バカと思うかもしれないけど、私はね、本当に助けられないのかどうか、それを確かめるまで諦めたくない。
I was worried that she was going to suggest she make a wish.
友達の声ぐらいは覚えてるかもしれない。呼びかけたら人間だった頃の記憶を取り戻すかもしれない。それができるとしたら多分あんただ。
うまくいくかな。
わかんねえよ、そんなの。わかんないからやるんだよ。もしかしてあの魔女を真っ二つにしてやったらさ、中からグリーンシードの代わりにさやかのソウルジェムがポロッと落ちてくるとかさ。
Conceivably.
最後に愛と勇気が勝つストーリーってのは。
Conceivably, the witch's body would just be a body, no different than Sayaka's
考えてみたら
right now
そういうのに憧れて魔法少女に
unusable body. The grief seed could just be the grief seed. Maybe you could transfer the light of your soul gem into the grief seed instead of the reverse of what you've been doing so far.
無理強いはしない。結構危ない橋を渡るわけだ。
Seems plausible.
私も絶対何があっても守ってやるなんて約束はできねえし。
Darken yourself a little bit to lighten somebody else.
私、要まどか。
たくもう調子狂うよな、ほんと。さくら京子だ。よろしくね。
This is cute. It's very weird that they pull out.
気分が優れませんので保健室へ。
It's very weird that they pull out tables if you don't appeal to class.
要さんは今日お休みです。
では学級委員が付き添いに。
ホムラちゃんも手伝ってくれないかな。
あいつはそういう玉じゃないよ。
友達じゃないの。
I mean, she might do that. You're here.
まあ
She's not letting it happen to Madoka.
お互い一人じゃ倒せないやつと戦うためにつるんでるだけさ。あと何日かしたらこの町にワルプルギスの夜が来る。
ワルプルギス。
超ド級の大物魔女だ。私もあいつも多分一人じゃ倒せ
Or
な
what
い。
if Madoka, sorry, what if the Walpurgis is Madoka from another timeline?
まあ要するにそういう仲なのさ。
If a Kemi can travel back and forth in time, why wouldn't the Walpurgis be able to?
ここだな。
本当にさやかちゃんかな。他の魔女だったりしないかな。
魔力のパターンが昨日と一緒だ。間違いなくあいつだよ。
I don't think we've seen her eat the same thing more than once. Maybe she lost her sense of taste and is like looking for something that she can taste, maybe that sort of thing. Curse of the Black Pearl.
さて、改めて
So I let her. So earlier was the word love. I didn't see the second word.
なんかもう慣れっこだし、私いつも後ろからついていくばっかりで役に立ったこと一度もないけど、でもお願い連れて行って。
ほんと変なやつだな、あんた。
Oh god, this actually reads very close to when Mammy died.
ねえ、京子ちゃん。誰かにばっかり戦わせて。
The conversation's not the same, but it's like a burgeoning friendship
なんであんたが魔法少女にな
and a
る
long hallway scene.
なめんなよ。この仕事はね、誰にだって務まるもんじゃない。
でも
毎日うまいもん食って幸せ家族に囲まれて、そんな何不自由ない暮らしを
Are those
してるやつ
posters for a concert? Because her labyrinth is based on her love for that guy who was
そん
a
なの
musician.
私が許さない。身の一番にぶっ潰してやるさ。命を危険にさらすってのはな、そうするしか他に仕方ないやつだけがやることさ。そうじゃないやつが首を突っ込むのはただのお遊びだ。おふざけだ。
そうなのかな。
あんただっていつかは嫌が王でも命がけで戦わなきゃならない時が来るかも
I
し
mean,
れ
if
な
you're
い。
fighting for your life, you probably
そ
didn't
の
want
時
to
に
in
だ
the
って
first
考
place.
えればいいんだよ。
I mean, from these girls' perspective. I mean, memories and musical notes.
どうして。
I was really hoping it was going to be a musical hall, though. Yeah, close enough. Called it right.
いいな。打ち合わせ通りに。
さやかちゃん、私だよ。まどかだよ。ねえ、聞こえる？私の声がわ
呼び続けろ。さやかちゃん、やめて。
I mean, the difficulty here is reminding her who you are while being present with a person that she really wanted to fight.
ねえ、お願い。元のさやかちゃんに戻って。引き分けがねえにも他があるぜ、さやか。
Also, you didn't bring the body with you, so even if she wanted to, she couldn't transfer into something else.
大丈夫。この程度へでもね、あんたは呼び続けろ。さやかを。やめて、もうやめて。
I mean, her gem was glowing bright too, so I assume that she still has full power. She's not displaying weakness out of nowhere.
いつぞやのお返しかい。そういえば私たち最初は殺し合う仲だったっけね。生ぬるいって。あの時私がもっとぶちのめしてもあんたは立ち上がってきたじゃんかよ。怒ってんだろ。何もかも許せないんだろ。わかるよ。それで気が済んだら目覚ましなよ。
Ew, what the hell's that from scent?
お願い。
I mean, I'm pretty sure we're past the point of no return. Except for the whole, destroy her, take her soul gem, and do the thing I said earlier.
頼むよ神様。こんな人生だったんだ。せめて一度ぐらい幸せな夢を見させて。
Oh, for half a second I thought what's his name was actually really here, and that would make no sense to me.
いや、あなた、その子を頼む。私のバカに付き合わせちまった。足手まといを連れたまま戦わない主義だろ。いいんだよ、それが正解さ。ただ一つだけ守りたいものを最後まで守り通せばいい。
I mean, it's basically a no-duh moment from Akemi.
だって今までずっとそうしてきたはずだったのに。行きな。こいつは私が引き受ける。
Was her father's holy symbol? I
心
think.
配すんなよ、さやか。一人ぼっちは寂しいもんな。いいよ、一緒にいてやるよ、さやか。
Well, I said it. Felt like a Mammy situation. And we are down.
京子。
Yeah, I was like, down Kyoko.
さくら京子には本当に三木さやかを救える望みがあった。まさかそんなの不可能に決まってるじゃないか。
Yeah, fuck. Yeah, evil. Fucking
どうして
manipulator.
止めなかったの？もちろん無駄な犠牲だったら止めただろうさ。でも今回彼女の脱落には大きな意味があったからね。これ
To get Madoka on the path you want her on.
立ち向かえる魔法少女は君だけしかいなくなった。もちろん一人では勝ち目なんてない。この町を守るためにはマドカが魔法少女になるしかないわけだ。
やらせないわ、絶対に。
It doesn't seem like Kyobi's cognizance transcends time. Sorry, I didn't realize this was a new ending. It doesn't seem like Kyobi's cognizance transcends time. So Akemi's ability to rewind, go back, and start over again, it doesn't feel like Kyobi has any ability to understand. Like, we have no idea how many times Akemi has done this before. Sorry, I'm just taking in the image. And I apologize to YouTube where this isn't going to be very visible. Or very visible. You're going to see 2 arms in midsection. The idea that she really did like her, and Sayaka got lost in despair and never really understood that, or in fact was looking in the wrong direction. She's looking at what she lost and not what was possible to gain, and unfortunately I think we all understood that from the let me tell you about my past episode. I will, of course, when I'm taking my notes, have to go back and listen to this song, because I believe this is a new ending. I can't remember what I was saying anymore. I think it was the Mammy thing. Yeah, I'm sorry. I feel like I was on a path to a greater thought. Now I can't remember what I was saying.
誰も未来を信じない。誰も未来を受け止められない。
Okay.
もう誰にも頼らない。
I don't think this was a necessary image for the episode after she died. I guess my thought process goes to Kyobi, the element that Kyobi is now essentially cemented themselves as the ultimate manipulator, except for the fact he just basically tells Madoka what he's up to. I don't believe the whole space civilizations thing. I don't think Kyobi is an alien. I don't believe anything Kyobi says, really, other than the stuff that fills in the blanks of questions that I would then have. I do think it would have been possible to save Sayaka. I think my idea of defeating her, taking her grief seed, and then reverse doing what we do to refresh ourselves, giving her more light, essentially, may have worked towards bringing her back. I don't think it would do anything to her thought process. Like, she might have been broken psychologically, but it might have brought her back towards at least being in her own body, and it'd be easier to interact with her in that aspect than as a witch. Yeah, I mean, instantly when we got to the end there, and Kyobi is talking to Akemi about, yeah, there was no possible way to save her, and I'm thinking back where Kyobi's like, oh yeah, no, anything could happen. You magical girls could do anything. I wouldn't be surprised if you found a way to save her. It's like, oh, fuck off. You are manipulating 100%. Yeah, I don't know. This show is ramping up in such a way that is so much better than expectation. Like, I knew there was going to be a twist, but then there's like 100 little twists that is like making a little ramp that just keeps going up and up and up in quality. This was an unexpected gem, I think. Obviously, everybody who saw it many, many years before I did knows that already, but for me, I just didn't think there was much to the show, and then it's got this depth to it that I really appreciate. God, there's so much that I think I should be talking about that I can't, like, my mind is going from, like, one thing to the next, and I can't really put it together. Because, you have the Akemi is dedicated to Madoka to the point of letting other people sacrifice themselves to do whatever they want, so as long as Madoka stays safe. You have Kyobi trying to manipulate things to the point that Madoka is going to make that wish, and Akemi is going to have to rewind again. I don't think that we're going to go into a Groundhog's Day scenario, but I feel like we are. It doesn't... The fact that we started episode 1 with what's felt like a dream sequence, I feel like the show has to then end on that literal dream sequence event, and that Akemi has to go back again. The only way I could see us not going through that is if Akemi talks about how many times they may have done this already. Because again, we've gone over the element of she seems a little bit dead inside. She didn't care about anything else anymore. If you saw the same things happening over and over and over again and you just couldn't change them, like no matter what, the events always get to the same point, that might be what distances you from that. So if Akemi says, I've done this 1,000,000 times already, then it might be the impetus to avoid ending the show at the start of the loop. Now, then again, if you've done it 1,000,000 times already, then it might just be impossible to solve, and that's why we end up back at the beginning. I don't know. I think I'm just gonna have to come back with a bunch of notes because I think it's too much for my brain to handle right now. You've gotten my perspective in the moment, so you'll get my perspective on this moment from later on. So once again, I've been Theta. This has been Stone-Faced Reactions, and we will catch you next time. Bye-bye.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching another Stone-Faced Reactions. If you have an idea of another video we could go ahead and watch, go ahead and put it in the comments down below and we'll add it to the wheel. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let us know what you thought about this video, what parts you liked. And until then, we'll see you next time. Is this too goofy?